And welcome back to The Zone. I am Brant Fowler, one of the co-hosts and co-founders of Zone 4, and we are back with another sample, this time for episode number 193. In this episode, we talk about everything about the TV show Arrow on the CW network, of course based on the DC Comics character Green Arrow. And we go into full spoilers about the first 6 episodes of the show. We're all really enjoying it, so, be forewarned, we do go into everything. Now, we do non-spoiler overview before we get into the spoilers, and we then announce we're going full spoilers, so you can listen up to that point and still be safe. Before we get to that, though, we do talk about the whole trend of variant covers coming back after comments that were made by Marvel editor-in-chief Axel Alonso. And so we go into a little diatribe on that. Of course, we have more teases for the 200th episode. We have our 3rd keyword for our new listener drive, and so much more. So, without further ado, here's a sample from this week's episode 193 of Zone 4. What you are about to hear is highly classified. Pay attention and listen at all times. And most importantly, remember, if you're looking for green face paint for your next year's Halloween costume, or you want to dress up like the Grinch for Christmas or whatever, but your local stores run out, hit up Ollie Queen. Apparently, he has an endless supply of the stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, you are now entering Zone 4. So, that brings us to topic time.
Topic time.
It's topic time.
Topic time! Yay! Alright, and for this week's topic time, we're going to talk about this new TV show, Arrow, on the CW network, of course, based off of DC Comics character Green Arrow. The show is now 6 episodes in, as we're recording this, as it's gone live. Well, there probably isn't a new one this week because of the holiday. So, 6 episodes in, and we're just going to talk about it. We'll talk about it briefly without spoilers, and then we'll give you a warning, and we'll go into full spoilers for the whole show. And I'm assuming that everybody here has watched at least most, if not all, the episodes? Hopefully?
Yeah, I've seen them all.
Okay, Gordon?
Yes, I have.
Cool, awesome. We all have seen them all then. So, basically, of course, this is Green Arrow. Let's move aside from, the whole discussion of them just calling it Arrow, because we've covered that before on the show. But it is the story of Green Arrow, which is Oliver Queen, stranded on an island, learns all these skills, comes back to Starling City as opposed to Star City, and goes after the evil in the city and tries to, rid the city and clean it up and all that good stuff. But this particular version of Green Arrow is definitely darker than the Smallville version. So if you were not a fan of the Smallville version, you may like this one. So somebody else talk now.
And
no, Ron. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Gordon.
Well, and something to keep in mind, if you're expecting, for a lot of people who may be watching this, if you're expecting, it's not just a straightforward action show. What they've done is they've kind of tweaked the quote-unquote continuity a little bit. Mm-hmm. Oliver Queen was stranded on an island for 5 years and learned how to survive. So he's like Paris Hilton, only he lives out Survivor in real life and he comes back. And so the show flashes back between his current adventures, where he's readjusting to his family. He had promised his father confessed that, yes, I did some bad stuff. You need to help clean up the city. And so Oliver Queen is both trying to clean up the city, clean up Starling City, as well as live up to these expectations. And there are frequent flashbacks to the island. So yeah. It's not just Green Arrow's going to beat people up this week. There are flashbacks, and then he beats people up.
Yeah, that's one thing I really do like about the show is that, we're in episode 1, we weren't given just his whole time on the island, and then he's back, and now that's where his adventures start. No, like Gordon said, we slowly learn what happened to him on the island as it's uncovered through those flashbacks each and every week. So,
right, and what's really well done with that two-pronged narrative is the fact that, and again, this is really good storytelling. The episode, the flashback sequences that we get in every episode have some reverberations to what Oliver's now going through in the present in Starling City.
Right.
And that's that kind of thing, because what we see is, it's an episodic, TV show. Let's get this straight. It works on several levels. One, it has a theme, his quest for cleaning up the city and corruption that carries itself through from episode to episode. But then again, the episodes are also marvelously self-contained, because in each episode there is a specific challenge that he has to overcome, which he does. And part of that process is he has these flashbacks that remind him of what happened on the island. And like you guys, I am really, really happy that we're getting those piecemeal, that they're like pieces of the puzzle that they're slowly giving us. And it's really very intriguing, because obviously when you watch him go into action in the present, he has these amazing, martial arts. And again, I applaud, the writers, because this isn't something that would have happened, in a 6-month period or even a year period. So it is, I think the time element here is crucial, that he spent 5 years on this island, which to me lends some credulity to the point where, 5 years of this kind of Spartan existence could have honed him. And of course, we're slowly seeing how he did acquire those skills. So that's very logical, and I like it a lot.
And, God, I completely forgot what I was about to say. Excuse me. Got choked there. John.
Yes.
Say something about Arrow, John.
Yeah,
we haven't already said.
Well, I have a lot of issues with Arrow, but I will say I do like.
That's because your name is on the list. Oh.
Yeah, my name is actually on the list.
I saw that. Oh.
It's on page 4, but I'm not important enough to make like the early part of the list, just the later one. But no, I do like the overall. I do like the overall sort of mood and theme of it. I really like using the old warehouse as his hideout or his lair or whatever. I'm wondering why they haven't progressed the story along a little more about making the upper layers a nightclub. But, we'll see what happens with that. I like the Easter eggs, especially. The names that are dropped, the people that show up that you're like, oh, wait, I know them. Yeah. Or I know them in another form, or as I have to do with my wife, go and get, my DC Who's Who book and go, that's who that is, okay? Let me watch the show.
Well, one thing I really do appreciate in the later episodes that we've seen is that they dropped the voiceover narration, which I absolutely hated. And that was one of the things that took me out of the show, because like the first 3 episodes, they did that narration every time you saw Oliver alone. And they've kind of let that go by the wayside, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm kind of used to that because it's so overused, so I'm just like, oh, another one of those,
It's like a TV fad these days,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
go ahead, Gordon.
I was about to say, I think one of the strengths of the show, well, first I just want to say to John about the whole opening a nightclub. You've obviously never had to deal with zoning laws and permits and stuff like that. But I have to say...
He's rich.
That's true.
Yeah, but believe me, I know several nightclub owners who ain't rich, but that's a whole other conversation entirely. But when I first heard some of the premise, and I think I'm really surprised that I like this show, because when I first heard about what they were planning, I mean, to me it sounded like, and I'm going to get flamed for saying this, and I do mean to be snarky, I thought it was going to be like One Tree Hill with arrows. I thought it was going to be just a crappy CW drama.
It is the CW, yeah.
But just it's going to be like Smallville, but moodier. The thing that's really pleasantly surprising is that it manages to balance the family stuff with the more intrigue stuff, with the action, with the flashbacks. So it's like every episode, I always wish it were longer. You know?
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's, we've heard comparisons like with, it's just another Smallville replacement or whatever. And, we've mentioned on the show that it is actually darker than Smallville. And one of those things that Smallville did, like many CW shows, is they did have a lot of those sappy moments, because that's the crowd and the audience that channel generally reaches is, the teenage girls and that kind of thing. But there's a lot less of that in this show. I mean, you do get the moments, like Gordon said, you get the family moments and the emotional moments and everything, but it's not that same feel, which I do appreciate.
Yeah. And you know what? It's evolving, because, I'll let you give the cue for when we get into the spoiler section of this. But this past week's episode, the most recent, episode 6, without spoiling anything, I think all of us would agree, there was a real shift in Oliver's mission.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Brought about by one of the supporting characters. And I went, That's cool, because it made me rethink where the show had, launched itself from and where, we were going. And all of a sudden, before you could get comfortable in that and before it could get to be routine, it suddenly shifted gears. And I went, I like that. That's because, again, there was a major shift in his thoughts about what he is doing. And that came across rather nicely. That was really well done.
Yeah, it was dangerously getting to that point where it was, who on the list is he going to go after this week?
Right, formula.
I do. Yeah, exactly. And I like, too, that they changed that. Were you about to say something, John?
Well, I don't remember the point I was going to make before, but to make a point to this one,
Sure.
They did somewhat tie that in with his original plan.
They did.
I suppose. Yeah, at the end, I guess to kind of make it, to kind of tie it up in a nice little bow. But, I did like that he went after, I guess you would say, common criminals this time out rather than, common as screw it, I'm gonna throw it out. As common as the Royal Flush Gang gets, but.
Yeah. And, with that note, we will just go, I think we've covered all the basics of it, so spoiler warning for the rest of this main topic. This has been a Gonzo Goose production.